headed for a Game 7 in the 2025 NBA Finals between the OKC Thunder and the same with the Indiana Pacers. This is your Game 6 review. We're going to talk about both teams here, but let's start off with the Indiana Pacers. A flawless game all the way through. This is a definition of a perfect basketball game. And there was a lot of question marks about this team entering Game 6. Tyrese Haliburton, he's dealing with a calf injury. Will he be able to go out there? Will he be able to play? You have J-Dub, who had 40 points last game. Shai, who had 31. They got crushed by both of those players. A couple of games ago, Shai had 15 points in the fourth quarter alone, while the Pacers had 17 points. It seemed like the Pacers are on the ropes. They may lose in 6 games, but they come out in the first quarter. They're red hot. Tyrese Haliburton did not have a great offensive night. He had 14 points, but you look at the assists, he had 5. He didn't have to go out there and score over 20 points for them to win this basketball game. He was able to put pressure back on the rim, something he wasn't able to do in Game 5 because he slipped down, he hurt his leg. But he was able to put a lot of pressure on the rim. Whenever he's able to do that, he's able to take Chet one-on-one in certain situations. You have wide open shooters now, like Obi Toppin. The same with Andrew Nembhard. The same with Ben Shepherd. Those players are wide open from the 3. And he's one of the best passers in basketball. He had a beautiful no-look pass to Pascal Siakam. He comes down the lane. He dunks it over the defender. And Pascal Siakam has 16 points, 13 rebounds. This was a masterclass game on the offensive end with the Pacers because their defense was so great in tonight's matchup. You look at the turnovers that OKC had. They had 21 turnovers. Whenever you have those many turnovers against a team like the Pacers, they're going to make you pay. And that's when they start to get everyone involved, such as Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, Ben Mathurin, Tyrese Haliburton. And we've seen them do this before in the past against the Cleveland Cavaliers, against the Milwaukee Bucks. The same against the New York Knicks. They'll go out there, they'll find a way to get you into a turnover pattern over and over again. And now they have that transition offense. They have the best transition offense in the NBA in this entire postseason run. So whenever you turn the basketball over, they already have someone down the court they're running. And Tyrese Haliburton, he has that vision. He's going to pass it off. But the OKC Thunder, they made them dribble through traffic over and over again. They did a phenomenal job of making sure that Shai could not get to his spots. And they did a great job against J-Dub. They could have easily laid down in this matchup with your superstar being hurt, dealing with the calf injury, with the rest of the players not playing well in the last game, but they bounced back in a great way. And shout out to the home crowd here. They kept them in the game over and over again. OKC, they came out to a lead early in the first quarter. But the crowd, anytime OKC was able to go out there and have a turnover, anytime OKC had a miss, you hear the crowd just get the Pacers back into it over and over again. And they stayed all the way through. Because unfortunately for the Pacers, this is their last home game of the postseason. The next game is on the road against OKC. But if they can play like this in Game 7, they're going to be golden. And they did a great job of going out there and making OKC have to earn those tough buckets over and over again at the rim. You look at the three-point percentage here. The Pacers, 15 of 42, 36%. OKC, 27%, 8 of 30. They were terrible entering the fourth quarter with that three-point percentage. And I'm talking about OKC here. They could not buy a bucket from 3 consistently. And that comes down with J-Dub, the same with Shai. And I've said this before with OKC. They are a great basketball team. Don't get me wrong. But they're not a very good three-point shooting team. They'll have their moments where they may go out there and they may shoot 35%. But it's very rare for them to do it in back-to-back games. And we've seen that so far in this series just a couple of games ago. They were barely able to go out there and make their threes, and they still won that matchup because the Pacers were going out there and they were getting themselves in foul trouble. And they did an excellent job in terms of defending Shai and making sure when he gets to his spots, we'll just have a hand up, we'll contest. If he makes it, hey, we'll live with it. But if he doesn't, get the rebound, go down the court. And you didn't see the Pacers go out there and complain about fouls this time around. Against the OKC Thunder in the last couple of games, you'll see Pascal Siakam. He has his hands up. He's like, man, I'm asking for a foul here. Next thing you know, they're beating you down the court. The Pacers found a way to go out there, outpaced the OKC Thunder. They made their jump shots. They were taking the easy looks over and over again. And I'll say this about Chet. Really, when we get into the OKC conversation, I have a lot to say about him on the offensive end. They were going at Chet. Tyrese Haliburton was the same with Andrew Nembhard. They're just going to the rim over and over again on Chet. And Chet, he has some solid defensive moments, but they found out that this man, he doesn't have a consistent jump shot so far in this series. He's been terrible in terms of going out there and shooting the 3-ball and shooting the mid-range shot. And Miles Turner has done a phenomenal job on the defensive end in terms of just guarding him in space. So shout out to Miles Turner for doing that and basically making Chet Holmgren a non-factor on the offensive end. But those turnovers and those assists really helped push the Pacers over the top in this matchup because they had 23 assists as well to the 14 assists with the OKC Thunder. And I'm just trying to make sure that I give everyone credit here. The same with Nesmith, who did have 10 points and played very good defense. He even got into Alex Caruso's head. It was a situation, top of the key. He nudges Alex Caruso. Caruso pushes him. That's a foul. They get the basketball back. Little plays like that help you out. And I know some fans, they hate that. It's a mental game at the end of the day. If the Pacers are able to go out there and get underneath their skin, you have moments like that, they'll take it. It was also a situation later in the matchup to where the backup center and Bryant, he got called for an out-of-bounds play on Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Hartenstein has his jersey, a fistful of his jersey. He pushes him out of bounds. It should have been a foul on Isaiah Hartenstein. They didn't call it. He pushes down Isaiah Hartenstein. They did get free throws out of that, but you're already up big. But going into Game 7, the Pacers control your emotions. And this is the one thing they've done a great job of so far this postseason run. Hell, even last year when they went against the Boston Celtics, they don't get those dumb fouls. They don't get those dumb technicals. I know last game that Rick Carlisle, early in the matchup, he was upset. There was some fouls that were not being called. He walks out on the court. He gets a tech. You can't have that moment in Game 7 because I do expect for the OKC Thunder to bounce back in a big way. But this is anyone's series right now. And this is why I said over a week ago, I can easily see this series going to Game 7. But shout out to the Pacers for going out there and taking care of business in Game 6 in front of their home crowd. And everyone played great. And I'm looking at Ben Mathurin. He's only had one great game in this series where he had 27 points off the bench. He's had some big time moments before in the past. I'm looking at him in Game 7. Can you give us some more in terms of going out there and being a scorer? He only had 2 points tonight. Obi Toppin, you could say that he was the MVP on the offensive end. He had 20 points, 6 of 12 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. We know that he's a Skywalker. He's the best athlete on the court. And that's talking about the Pacers and the OKC Thunder. He's a phenomenal athlete, and that 3-point shot is going down at a high rate. Expect for the Pacers to have a better one-on-one offense next game, considering the fact that now Tyrese Haliburton will have more time to heal from this calf injury, even though he did look good tonight. And expect for him to be more aggressive in Game 7 than he was in Game 6. But before I go over to the OKC Thunder, shout out to Rick Carlisle for keeping the troops together and finding a way to go out there and execute a perfect game plan against J-Dub, and the same with Shai. Now let's talk about the OKC Thunder here. Chill out. If you're an OKC Thunder fan, you may be saying, hey, I'm so annoyed about this loss. It happens. Game 7 is at your house. You're a better team at home than you are on the road. But at the same time, you're playing a dangerous game here. I expect for Shai to bounce back in a huge way. He had 8 turnovers tonight, 7 of 15 from the field, 21 points. He did not look like an MVP. J-Dub, after having 40 points last game, he had 16 points this game. And I'm going to talk highly of J-Dub here. I know that tonight was a terrible night, but we've seen him have bad games in the past. Look at what happened against the Denver Nuggets. In Game 6, he had one of the worst games of his career, even dating back before he got to the NBA. But he bounced back in a huge way in Game 7 on the defensive end and on the offensive end. What really hurt the OKC Thunder in tonight's matchup, obviously the 3-point shot. But they've won a basketball game before. They've won many basketball games before in the regular season to where the 3-point shot was not going down at a high rate. What really hurt them, besides the 3-point shot here, the turnovers. You can't have this over and over again. The dumb, lazy passes. And I look at Shai. He loves to operate and go to the left and go to the right and shoot that mid-range shot. He has to be more creative. He's a crafty shot creator in terms of going out there and finding his way to the rim. He needs to be more aggressive, and he needs to be a better playmaker as well to get his teammates involved. He only had 2 assists, and we've seen him in the past only have 2 assists. He had a game where he had 0 assists. He needs to go out there and get his teammates involved and be more of a playmaker for everyone else around him. They have to knock down their shots. I'm talking about J-Dub here as well, even though I expect for him to step up in Game 7. Chet Holmgren, easily the worst player on the court with the starting lineups, with the Pacers and with the OKC Thunder. He was terrible tonight. He couldn't hit anything. He was 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3. And I look at Chet Holmgren. He's a very good defender. He's still a young player. I'm not saying give up on Chet, trade Chet away, don't start him next game. You can still start Chet. He needs to be better. And I'm tired of seeing Chet take that delayed three-point shot and Miles Turner goes out there. He contested a three-point shot. We saw the same thing happen against the Denver Nuggets. Instead of settling for that shot, try to get to the rim or pass out of it. Their offense looked better when Isaiah Hartenstein was on the court than it did with Chet. And when they drafted Chet coming out of college, the one thing that he could do was stretch the floor at a high level, go out there and get to the rim. I know that you're going against Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, who's been a very good defender this series, but they need more out of Chet on the offensive end. He doesn't even have to go out there and score 20 to 25 points. Can you just be positive on the offensive end? Knock down a three or two. The man is over 7 feet tall. He needs to be better in terms of offensive rebounding and just going out there and just being a better offensive player all around. But I look at it from this standpoint. They started him and they started Isaiah Hartenstein. I'd rather for them to start Cason Wallace instead of Chet and then go out there with Isaiah Hartenstein. And I know the conversation that you'll say, well, you have Miles Turner, he can stretch the floor. That's true. You can always slide Chet back into the game plan here, but that starting lineup did not help you out tonight. And a lot of that was because of Chet and the fact that he wasn't good on the offensive end. They really needed him to step up alongside J-Dub, and the same with Shai. And it's not all on Chet. The entire team, they did not show up tonight. Alex Caruso, who's had some big time moments in the past, he had 20 points and 5 steals a couple of games ago. This man had 0 points tonight. 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. Just a bad shooting night all around. The defense was there, but the offense, unfortunately, just wasn't. Aaron Wiggins, 1 for 4 from 3, 1 for 4 from the field. Did have 2 free throws, 5 points. They need him to be more consistent with Alex Caruso. Dating back a couple of games ago, both of those players came off the bench. They were huge spark plugs. Now you look at the Indiana Pacers. They're doing the same thing that the Dallas Mavericks did against the Miami Heat. They're beating them with numbers over and over again, and they're beating them with elite game plans. I look at the head coach of the OKC Thunder. You can't let this get away from you. And the OKC Thunder, if they do lose this series, we will go back to game 1 and say that was the game. They had that game 1, and they let Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers come back. They broke down the door. He hits that game-winning shot. But I look at it from this standpoint here. You have all the perfect players to go out there and counterattack the Pacers with Shai, with J-Dub, with Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins. It's time for all those players to step up. Knock down the three-point shot. Don't rush your offense. Don't have those turnovers. Get to the rim and play disciplined basketball. But so far, this has been the best NBA Finals of the 2020s, in my opinion. We go back to last year, the Dallas Mavericks, when they went against the Boston Celtics. That wasn't really a great series. You look what happened with the Miami Heat against the Denver Nuggets. That series ended in 5 games. This is a true game 7. It can go either way. I do believe that OKC will bounce back in game 7 and they will win the NBA Finals, but it can go either way. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have win the NBA Finals this Sunday night? The OKC Thunder or the Indiana Pacers? And I look at Isaiah Joe here. He's the only player that showed up off the bench. He had the 11 points. He was 3 or 4 from the field, 2 or 3 from the three-point line. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.